Very good. Good afternoon, everyone. So we're pleased to be joined today by Jorge Moreira da Silva, who is, as you know, the Executive Director of the UN Office for Project Services, which we all know best as UNOPS. He is joining us, as you can see, virtually, and he will talk to you about his recent trip to Myanmar. Please go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you. I'm in China, in Beijing. I just came from Myanmar. It's midnight here. And I would like to thank this opportunity to debrief you on my mission to Myanmar. The purpose of the visit was to meet affected communities and responders following the earthquake that struck Myanmar in March 28, 7.7 magnitude, as you recall. And we wanted to get a better understanding of the needs on the ground and how UNOPS can better support recovery and reconstruction efforts. For context, you may know UNOPS has the largest UN presence in Myanmar with almost 500 colleagues on the ground for 30 years. We have supported the people of Myanmar for the past 30 years, offering solutions to improve health, livelihoods, rural development and agriculture initiatives across the country. We manage some of the largest development funds in Myanmar, Global Fund, Livelihoods and Food Security Fund, and Access to Health Fund. Among others, my colleagues support humanitarian efforts to reduce risks posed by mines as well. Almost 3 months in, communities are still reeling from the earthquakes, the strongest that the country has experienced in a century. I visit Yangon, Sangay, and Mandalay. The devastation caused by the quakes compounded the existing challenges of conflict, displacement, and severe humanitarian needs. Even before the quake, more than 3.5 million people were displaced by conflict. Now, in the most affected areas that I visited, more than 6.3 million people remain in urgent need of assistance and protection. I saw the extent of the damage and the needs in my visit to Sangay and Mandalay. Damaged infrastructure is limiting access to basic services, increasing the vulnerability of communities. Displacement and disease risks are rising. Many people are still living in temporary shelters without access to clean water and basic services, as the monsoon season is underway, exposing communities to flooding and increasing the risks of disease. Access remains severely limited, and the localization of assistance remains essential to reach the most vulnerable. Debris removal is another key concern. Over 2.5 million tons of debris must be cleared to pave the way for recovery. Of course, response and recovery efforts are taking place amid active conflict. Let's not forget that the conflict never stopped, even immediately after the earthquake. And insecurity continues to hinder recovery efforts. We need unhindered humanitarian access, especially in hard-to-reach areas. We continue to call on all parties to the conflict to uphold obligations under international humanitarian law and to ensure safe, unimpeded aid access. To conclude, despite these constraints, the UN system, humanitarian partners, and local responders continue to deliver for those most in need. Immediately after the earthquake, UNOPS worked swiftly with our partners to mobilize $25 million and scaled up our response to reach 500,000 people with life-saving assistance. My colleagues worked closely with the UN family and other humanitarian partners to provide immediate assistance and support recovery efforts, including by delivering emergency shelters, access to clean water, and deploying infrastructure specialists for rapid assessments. As we and our partners shift gears from immediate response to early recovery, the reconstruction needs are immense. The World Bank released some data that shows that the damage estimates amount to $11 billion, with full reconstruction likely to cost 2 to 3 times more this amount. Given the scale of devastation and needs, a much bigger flow of funding is needed to support our collective efforts. We are working along other partners to restore essential services, rebuild livelihoods, and support communities. This is a collective effort, but we and our partners need safe, sustained access to prevent further suffering. Recovery and reconstruction efforts should support Myanmar's journey to peace and reconciliation. Protection of civilians must be a priority. I'm available to answer to questions, and I apologize as that I'm not reaching you in the best conditions.
Much for being with us. Let me just ask the control room, because we have an echo that is on and off. I don't know if there's anything that can be done. Apparently not. So we will try to live with it. We're grateful that you're able to join us today at the time that it is where you are. So let me just go to questions. Let me go to Edie first.
Thank you very much on behalf of the United Nations Correspondents Association for doing this briefing. My name is Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. I know that you were there to assess the damage from the earthquake and reconstruction needs, but I wonder if you could give us your assessment of what you saw about the military situation there. And a second question is, with the current military situation, do you think that donors will really be willing to spend millions of dollars, millions and billions of dollars on reconstruction until after that ends? Thank you.
Thank you. Indeed, the military situation didn't improve despite the announcements of ceasefire. I visit several internal displaced people centers, and very close there were strikes. So I engaged with the population, with communities, with families, and they were still fleeing from the conflict. Some were in the IDP camp due to the earthquake, but others were just coming to the IDP camp to flee from the conflict. So the conflict never stopped. Maybe it has stopped a couple of days after the earthquake, but what is particularly shocking is that even in the aftermath of the earthquake, when you had 500,000 people forced displaced due to earthquake, massive destruction, schools, hospitals, houses, the conflict never stopped. And that's why it's important to continue putting all pressure and making all efforts to get the ceasefire and the reconciliation. But at the same time, and let me be very candid and responding to your question, I don't think that the fact that we are dealing with an ongoing conflict justifies any delay or postponement in support of Myanmar. Myanmar cannot become a forgotten crisis. This country has faced cyclones, war, conflicts, violent climate, and now in immense suffering. And therefore, even before the reconstruction, because the reconstruction will take time, but even before the reconstruction, there are basic elements of emergency relief that is needed. Let's not forget that UN call for the humanitarian emergency amount to $275 million, and only 22% of that was provided. And therefore, I call the international community to provide the support to Myanmar, but at the same time, giving confidence. Why? Because, for instance, UNOPS, and we are the largest UN agency on the ground, we have found a way to provide direct support to the people without compromising this localization. So we don't, there is no risk of appropriation of funds, no risk of aid diversion. We have, with the local partners, with local NGOs, we have found a way in those 30 years to support the people. And this is also true in the aftermath of the earthquake. So I really think it's important to mobilize the support to Myanmar, and it's confirmed that we can do it with many other UN agencies on the ground with the close partnership with NGOs.
Thank you. Let me go to Evelyn.
Thank you very much for the information. Evelyn Leopold, Dag Hammarskjöld Fund for Journalists. Would you advocate a weapons embargo on Myanmar? Is that something you could possibly do? And then I have another question. Yeah.
Well, I would prefer not to enter into those topics because, as you know, UNOPS is an agency that is totally focused on operations. My objective in this mission was to observe the impact of the earthquake and the needs. I align and I echo the calls from the UN, from the Secretary General for a ceasefire and for a reconciliation.
But I don't know if you're in a position to answer it. But UNOPS has had one scandal after another. And the latest one is a housing project in Kenya, where I lived for 3 years, a long time ago. And it's a major scandal that Past Blue wrote about in detail, about homes were promised, money was raised, nothing was delivered. Can you comment on that, or it's not in your purview?
No, I can't, but it's not a new scandal. It's the same scandal from 4 years ago, and that we fix it. As you know, I was recruited following the crisis related with F3I. We have been asked by the member states to significantly reform UNOPS. We did it. We concluded our comprehensive response plan. We overcame that crisis, and the trust was rebuilt. So the news that you were sharing are still related with that issue that happened 4 years ago. So it's nothing new, it's the same.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have other questions from the room or online? Very good. Well, thank you. So on this, we had Jorge Moreira da Silva, who's the Executive Director of UNOPS. Thank you so much for joining us today and for giving us an update on the situation in Myanmar. Greatly appreciated, and please come back anytime. And thank you so much, everyone. Sharon will come now, and then after that, Stefan will come and do the noon briefing.